episode 14 of Exploring the Libraries. This is actually our first two-part episode in Pruning because
That's true.
we
Yeah.
ran out of time last week.
I think we'll make it short this week.
Yeah, we'll do our best. No, so this week we're going to be talking about Raze. We're going to be kind of talking about what were your favorite cards in Raze, what were the cards you hated the most, why on both of those, and then the more interesting cards that you're sitting in the middle of, like cards that you couldn't quite figure out if you like them or hate them or what's happening there. So that's going to definitely be an interesting topic. Before I get into that, did you see the announcement? Oh, Sid is very low. Alex is secure volume. So I need to up my microphone. Let's turn down the background music. All right. How's it going now? I need to adjust these audio controls. They're a lot for me. But did you get a chance to see the promo Nizu for Chinese New Year's?
Yeah, I did. It looked nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I think in the game we have enough creatures to do the entire Zodiac if we really want to. But
That's
I'm
fair.
hoping that starting in next year we'll be a little bit faster at it and we'll have the promos ready for the actual New Year's. So I'm just getting that to throw it on screen. What we're gonna do is get these promos. Once they're in our hand, we're gonna distribute a few of them to every single store, and then the stores will then be able to give those out to the players. So instead of like last time with the anniversary bundle, we ended up doing the anniversary bundle where Haunted Castle Gaming sold it directly to the players. I don't want to do that. So Alex, you're gonna be working with us and getting this to your communities. So
That's fair.
and
It's not
the
hard.
cool thing I did with this was we have the Happy New Year's and everything, Gung Hei Fat Choi on the card, but also the creature type. This is the symbol where normally it will say ox on the Nizu, and now has the symbol for the ox. So I thought
That's
that was
cool.
that was definitely clever. It was a little touch that my wife put onto the promo, and that makes me happy. And then I haven't announced it yet. It'll be officially being announced tomorrow, but I'll let people know who's watching the stream right now that next month's Patreon promo, the full art card you're gonna get, is dedicated studies. I
That's
thought it's a card.
my card right
Yeah,
there.
it's definitely
That's
one of
the main
yours.
card.
It's but it's a card that's very, very heavily played, and it deserves to get a promo version of itself. So I'm excited to show everyone how that's gonna look tomorrow. And then next month is also one that I'm really excited about, both for the fact that it's very heavily played and that the full art version of it shows something that I don't think some of the players have seen yet. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. So I'm hoping, Andrew mentioned the Zodiac would be awesome. I'm hoping at some point. So for when I got married, my father-in-law, as a wedding gift, gave us this beautiful velvet box, and in it has these collector coins and the 12 Zodiac coins. And I was like, that'd be really cool to someday do that with Genesis cards, where you have the 12 Zodiac cards and get them in foil and make them all pretty, like gold foil or whatever. So that's my dream. One day we'll do something cool like that, and it'll be a collector item that players can get. All right.
I'm just looking at the off here. Does it have a little unique awareness banner at the top there?
So that's how the awareness banner looks like if you were to take the border off. I don't know. So if we were to take a regular card, I'm going to take this wind slash, throw it up on screen. So where the black border kind of cuts it off, there's a thing right above that. And the reason why we didn't show it on the card is because there's a very fine balance that we need to make when it comes to how much we cannibalize artwork for play, like content that's relevant for playing. So it was a struggle, a very, very difficult struggle to put the awareness grid there. It's not something we wanted to do, but it was just the best place to put it on the card. So, anyways, yeah, so when you see the promo versions of these, if you go to the website and see the promo versions, you'll see that they show that on the cards as well. So any of the full arts. All right. Ready to talk Raze?
Yeah, let's talk Raze. You want to start at the top, at the happy zone or the sad zone?
So I think there's just gonna be less things to talk about when it comes to the good cards. So let's go through the good cards first and be like, okay, what are your favorite cards in Raze? And if there's some that we need some explaining, I'm gonna move the beta stuff off to the side.
Go for it.
Let's see.
Just drop them
there. And let's see with the Raze cards, what are your favorite cards and which one? And let's see if any of them are something we didn't expect. So,
we got Earth Pillar.
Yeah. I assume all the pillars are gonna be in there, but
let's take a look. I'm taking a look. Did I forget one? Oh no, they're all here.
So out of all the pillars, I think Water Pillar is currently the weakest. And the big reason behind it is those two are definitely the weakest because there's no champion that can inherently take advantage of them. But I value the Water Pillar a little bit less than the Air Pillar, because outside of champions, what summons are also really good for Water Pillar? None really come to mind except for Mongol. Mongol is the only one. Yeah. And now you're forced to play Axon Chaos. And when it comes to Air Pillar, there's no summon that really stands out, but my all-time favorite 4G summon does air damage, which is the Goliath Sphinx Eater. So I'm really happy about that. On top of that, Air Pillar also works with Wind Slash, which is another very, very solid 4G card, where, yes, you get Tsunami with Water Pillar, but anyways, I ramble. I shouldn't be doing that as much. All right, let's...
It's so fair.
Giant Scorpion.
It's okay. Giant Scorpion. It's good. Everybody knows about it. Celestial Hegemon. I really enjoy playing with this card, but the more I've played with it or tried to play with it in tournaments, I feel like it's not as strong as it looks, but I enjoy it very much in the multiplayer. Anguish Flame is a powerful card that none of people
play. The Hegemon for a second. Actually, this was a card that before release I hated this card, and then you played it against me, and I started to love this card. And then for a little while, I thought it was broken. And then I realized it doesn't do so well all the time. Like it requires balance. You can't just run a whole lot of them, as you know. All right, move on. Anguish Flames.
Anguish Flame. I love this card. This card is so strong. If you don't know it yet, and a lot of people forget it, it's actually a card that does allow you to stack weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the very few.
It's the only.
So if you're in desperate, that's fair. It's the only. You're right. But even in general, just 3 damage to everything is perfectly fine. Like that's a decent effect. It's no bolt shot, but then if you're in desperate mode and you have multiples of these, then it goes through the roof and it goes crazy.
Steven, Hegemon requires a chauffeur. We know, Steven. We know. I'm sure that card will show up. Wait, what? No, that wasn't Jay. That wasn't in Raze. He's talking about Stone Protector. Yeah. Anguish Flame, great card.
Another amazing great card, Revenge of the Phoenix. I love this card. I do think that this is a card that will diminish in value the more unique summons and abilities that we get, because you're going to have summons with cast abilities and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
Like Drain.
Yeah.
Eventually it will be weaker than it is, but it'll still be a crazy strong card because techniques will also start to get stronger as well.
Yeah.
More unique techniques will come out.
Yeah. This is another card that before launch, I was very wary that this card was not good. And then now, more recently, we've been seeing a lot of love for this card. But around the time of the launch of Raze, I did not expect this card to see much favor. But that artwork is just so gorgeous.
There's your bull right there. The only reason why I respect this card is because of you, Sid. I don't think I've ever played it, but I played against it many times.
It's so good. So good. All right.
All right, Necrolich. I'm going up here. I don't know where I'm going. Now we'll go up here. Necrolich. Its own deck is built around the named card. It's very easy to understand why it's good. It's got good value.
Yeah.
And as more summons get printed, there are always going to be some more unique patterns to go with Necrolich. Like, I don't think it'll something that will just completely drop out of favor at some point.
No. Yeah, this is one of the few cards that I agree with you. I don't think I think the value of this card is only going to increase as the game grows. Like Angel of Retribution, I could see that wavering here and there, and there might be times where it's worth a lot, other times where it's worth nothing. But this one card, it'll stand the test of time almost the way Giant Scorpion does. Yeah.
Call to the Bones. I love Call to the Bones. It's so fun. And unless you're facing flying stuff, it can clog the board. You can just do so much with it. It's army in a can.
Yeah. Again, this was another card that I thought was useless before printing.
Oh.
I was wrong. So wrong.
There's a lightless.
Shout out to JC on this one.
That's fair, yeah. JC. Honestly, when you think about like the Titans that we got, it's really your options are really Angel, Lightless, and Primordial. But let's be honest, if your choice is between Primordial or Lightless, just play Lightless.
99.9% of the time, yes.
Yeah, there is the small off chance, and who knows? Maybe it'll come back someday.
Well, the one advantage that Primordial has over Lightless, and it's not Primordial itself, it is Dark Brand is just such a good card. And the fact that Primordial can fit with Dark Brand is definitely advantageous. But yeah, I love Lightless. I agree with this list. No Bellum cards except for the Air Pillar.
Yeah. That's fair. We got our commons and uncommons in this list as well. Shutdown, it pairs with my pressure point. Breath of Jalara, such a nice heal, such a nice awareness. Wind Slash is the best 4-chi technique right now, I would say. Yeah. Galad Baboon, I am a big avid fan of. I've seen a lot of people be like, why don't you like the Baboon, or why do I play the Baboon? And it's just, I sometimes go back and forth with my decks when it goes Galad Baboon and Formosan. Formosan does the 2 damage that it comes in. It essentially has the double awareness. This also essentially has it. You play it, and then it's going to move up 1, and it's going to hit that spot in front of it. That's doing 3 damage on the turn it comes into play. Where it starts to depreciate is the following turns is it's so slow that you have to play. Sometimes you have to play around your own Baboon. But if it hits again, that's 6 damage from a 5-chi card, guys.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And that 3 damage is almost guaranteed. Sometimes they'll take it out, but it's very rare. And then Ocean. Go ahead.
I was going to also say there's something very. I find something very calming or beautiful about this artwork. It's just. I don't know how to describe it. Like just the pen strokes and stuff like that. It's very different than the rest of our artwork, but still very much fits into the game. So
I don't. Later today, I'm gonna turn that into a meme, Sid. I don't know. I don't know why, but I will be back.
The calming baboon.
It's just gonna zoom. No, it's just gonna be a zoomed in picture of the baboon's face and only his face, and it's gonna be like the face of calmness.
Yes.
And lastly, Oten. Easy 3-chi slot in. I don't know if it's the best evasion, but it's definitely up there. It's very expensive, but you don't care. In those instances that you're going to use it, you're using it to save yourself.
Oten. I just remember when we were debating on the artwork, and I was pushing so hard for it to be Kendra and not Rain. I wanted it to be Kendra so badly, but the rest of the team was like, no. And it made me so sad.
If somebody's watching in the chat who's half decent at art, or even bad at art, I want you to Photoshop Kendra into this art over top of Rain.
It's just so good. Oh. All right. Okay, so these are the best cards in Raze. Like, these are the cards that you're hunting for every time you open up a pack. You've got uncommons. There's no commons in this list, but you got some uncommons. You got some rares. Personally, like, one of the cards that doesn't surprise me because I know how good the card is, but it's one of those ones that's like, it's surprising how good it is Wind Slash.
Yes, yeah.
We may talk about there's no Bellum cards in this list, but this is probably, like, hands down, I think, one of the best cards that's come out of Raze because it stabilizes Bellum so much.
For sure.
And so, yeah, I love that card. The other cards are really unique, and some of them are going to, like, ebb and flow in value. But, like, Wind Slash, Giant Scorpion, and what was the other one we're talking about? Lightless?
Necrolich was the one that was tested at the time.
These ones, these you'll see, I think, played straight up to the end of Jalara as a world, like, especially Wind Slash. Like, Giant Scorpion, we saw as the meta gets faster, Giant Scorpion sees less favor. As the meta slows down, Giant Scorpion sees more. And that might be the case with Necrolich as well, depending on how the low chi summons look like. But Wind Slash, I can't envision the future of Genesis and people being like, no, Wind Slash is not worthwhile putting in your deck. And there might be other cards depending on your specific deck, but Wind Slash is never going to be a bad card.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's talk about the cards you hate. This is going to be a much longer conversation, but I also think there's going to be a lot of agreement here. Let me just group these up, get them out of the way.
Well, I'd say lucky. Oh, I'm missing. That's good. It wasn't that big of a pile. Yeah. Literally, I was gonna say there's only one rare. So that's good. Pocket stasis.
Now, why do you hate this card?
So step one of my perception, I go at 5 chi, I can gain 4 life for 10 aura. So that's without me having to put in any work. I'm paying less health, I'm paying less aura, paying less chi for Angel's Embrace. I get the two mixed up. Which one is it? Yeah, Angel Embrace? Angel's Kiss. Yeah, Angel's Embrace. And then I look at this, I'm like, okay, so at 5 cards, I'm playing 14, and then I'm getting 1 more than Angel's Embrace. So I'm still playing 4 more aura, 2 more chi to gain 1 more than Angel's Embrace. Okay, at 6 cards, I'm at 6 health, 14 aura, 7 chi. Okay, I'm at the aura curve, I think, at this. I'm for the right health, I think, at this point. But it's just like you have to get to that many cards.
Yeah.
Now, maybe the stack becomes more relevant soon, but in current meta, it is bad to stack generally. That's how you get blown out. And this is a card that it's good in that matchup against the specific decks that stack. But otherwise, it's really a lull where you're going to get less than your Angel's Embrace would. And that's why I hate it. And even then, it's like, do I hate it that bad? No. Do you know what? I would rather play this over Demon Scrolls. which was I think my main negative for the other set.
Yep.
Was Demon Scrolls. So this is above Demon Scrolls, because even if you play it for gaining 1 health, you know, it's maybe I'm being a bit too mean to Demon Scrolls. I don't know.
Now, okay.
I think I'm going to move on unless you have a question.
No, we can move on.
All right. Here's our funky monkey. Understated for a 5 chi. Really weird cast ability.
Yeah, everything adjacent to it gets dark resistance. Okay. Yeah, we don't see this played anywhere. I mean, it's the same aura cost as your Gelder Baboon. So out of the two monkeys, the Baboon's probably, well, you go from one of your favorite cards in the set to, a pile of your most hated cards. So we can see where you land on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
I don't think there's anything else to it.
All right, and then I think we have a pile of sideboard cards that I'm gonna pull out. And this I think is just really an issue of sideboards not being properly developed yet or figured out what is going to happen with Genesis. So you got Float. I don't know. I'm stacking them on top of each other. You got Float and Luminous Covering. I think those two are really the only two that fully are like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree in any way. If we pull out any cards that we hate on and someone disagrees, I'd love to hear your comments and get your feedback on that. Darren mentions that he arts, so if you need an artist,
there you go, Darren. It's your duty. It's your duty as a Genesis player to put Kendra onto Oten over Rain.
All right.
Spike Fit. When this card came into Future League, it was blowing up. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, this card is so good!" And I was just there like, "No, what are you guys on about? What are you seeing? This is bad, guys." And they're like, "Well, what if I position myself on one side and I get a halogen on the other side and I push them in there for 1 damage?" And that's where the end of the conversation went about it being broken, was that setting up a 2-card combo on yourself to do 1 damage was broken. And I was just like, I don't even know how to respond to this. Oh.
I think so. Giving the benefit of the doubt to the Future Leaguers, I think part of it is also there's something about Genesis that's subtly kind of it's subtly difficult for people to fully grasp, and that's because Genesis, unlike most other card games, the majority of cards here are at Swift speed. Majority of the game is about it being responsive, not proactive and not setting things up. Even if we were to take Magic, which Magic I felt had a lot of instances or a lot of cards that are at this speed, at Swift speed, they're a lot more reserved when they want to put cards in there. I don't think it's even at a 50-50. I think majority of the cards are at their slower action speed. Yu-Gi-Oh's the same way. Pokemon doesn't even have any Swift speeds. So majority of the cards are like that. Where in Genesis, 80%, I want to say 70. We specifically make it that 70 to 80% of the set is Swift speed. We want the cards to be faster because we want this back and forth dynamic. So I think it makes players feel uncomfortable where you see a card like this, which you expect it to be action speed like Inferno Pits. It's not Swift speed. And that's the thing that they're really reacting to. That's a visceral reaction.
Yeah, and when that was happening was like, I think this was the first trap we were seeing.
It was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get where they're coming from, but now that we're pushing the boundaries of what traps do, they are. This one definitely is left in the dust.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Mirage Oasis.
Why isn't this card better?
I just don't know. I just don't know. That's the end of my conversation.
Have we given this card an opportunity to shine? Like, I don't know if anyone's truly tried to make a Mirage Oasis deck.
I don't know. Like, if this was a Swift, and then, like, your opponent plays an ability and you go put it down, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm not continuing my combo," that makes more sense. But because this is an action, I just can't see it too well. I just can't picture it, like, doing more than one damage. Like maybe your opponent went first, and then you moved up into melee with them. You play Mirage Oasis beside them, and then you do something, and they dodge out of the way. They take their one damage from Mirage Oasis, and now they're no longer at Mirage Oasis.
What if you were playing a caster deck, so you don't have any attack abilities in your deck somehow, which is very unlikely, but just say somehow that's the situation, and then you play like 25 of these. So wherever they are on the board, and they play an attack ability, they're getting hit for like 10.
But even then, they don't have to play an attack ability. They should walk away at that point.
But like these could just
they can also stand
everywhere.
on it.
Huh?
They can stand on. They can stand on it, and it won't hit.
Whenever a champion or summon on or adjacent to Mirage Oasis.
All right.
So you just like litter the board with these, or like, oh, I guess Ice Mage can't even play. There's so few champions who can even play this.
Idris, I think, is your best option for Aura.
Yeah.
For this.
Idris, Fireballs, like that's it. I'm just gonna be playing Fireballs, and I'll make a deck with 50 Mirage Oases.
Do it.
All right, moving on.
Oh, I've already okay. I want to make a prediction. If you ever made this deck, this is what will happen. You'll run out of aura, and then you're gonna have to be like, they'll be like so close to dying, and you're gonna have to punch them. You're gonna have to do a heavy attack to finish them off, and you can't because Mirage Oasis is there.
That'd be so good.
All right, moving on. Peaceful demand. Peaceful demand.
I'm sorry.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, did you like that moment when you realized this terrible
Oh.
card was way worse than it actually was?
If you weren't watching our one of the worst cards in Genesis match, which was great, you should go back and watch it. That was a epic battle of rabbits versus Earth Elementals.
Oh, Earth Elementals is so bad that the creature that has an attack of 0 can hurt them. That's how bad they are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So if you don't know Peaceful Demand, at first glance you're like, "What? A card that makes my opponent discard all their cards?" And then you look at it and they're like, "Oh, it's a May, okay." Or they choose to not move or rotate. It's only the pacify that's for the rest of the turn.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to spend any more time on this card. It's bad. It's just no point to go on to it.
Just don't play it.
Undead Servitude. Just don't play it. Yeah. Undead Servitude. It's just so expensive. It's extremely expensive.
Yes.
And end of story. If this is the best way for you to kill a summon, cool. You could just put your deck in with like 1/1s and then just punch them.
Mm-hmm.
If this is the goal you really need.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
So
15 aura and 10 X energy.
The big issue here was also trying to find the balance in this card. And like the cost balance was it's so difficult to do. So I mean, I don't disagree. Like it's so costly. But anything less than this and the test environments we had and the situations like that, I think this card could have very easily fallen into this is broken, or like some sort of broken combo. So I don't disagree with you that it's way too costly. I think it was a case of the design team being conservative because the concept's fine. It's just it was the design team being conservative.
I agree. I could agree with that.
Yeah.
And my next thing would be that I don't know if there's a good enough Resurrect Beacon that is worthy to pay the cost as it is. So it's like even Yamaraja is 8 energy and 15 aura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just say hypothetically there was a creature like an Resurrect Angel of Retribution type of thing. If there was that hypothetical creature that was worth it, could this card and we end up fixing fighters the way we're looking at, where majority of fighters now have 2 energy reduction or even 3 energy reduction, could this card then be pushed to a point where you're like, yeah, this is worth it?
It's possible, definitely possible.
So
But
yeah, I think so. The point I'm getting at is that out of all the cards in your list, where a lot of these cards statically will not see increased value as the game grows, this one actually has a potential of seeing increased value. Will it get to a point where it becomes tournament standard? I don't know, but I also don't think this card's gonna just fall by the wayside forever.
Yeah, that's fair. Like if you have a big enough summon that literally its cost is so expensive and it's a resurrect beckon that this is almost like a discount to play it this way, then this card is very interesting. Because then at that point it's sort of a 2-card combo to get this guy out, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Empower summon. It's cute. I could, if this was at a 3-chi, I actually would have been. I think I could have been happy with this. At 4-chi, there's just so much better things to do, and the Dark Resist is just irrelevant most of the time. It just feels like you're paying a premium for that Dark Resist too.
So the one thing I would make about like this and Luminous Covering was this, you could tell, like, even if I wasn't part of the design team, you could tell very clearly that these 2 cards were very much a reaction to what was happening at the championship. And like, you could just feel it. It's this idea that the dark decks were very powerful. Even Golden Langer. There is this hate in Raze towards dark. You're seeing in Bellum, you're seeing in Thymos, which are very opposite to Rain's colors. There was very much a hate towards dark, and not a hate towards any of the other attributes. So that was kind of the downside of a lot of these cards that we're seeing here. These 4 cards, Golden Langer, Luminous Covering, Float, and Empower Summon, is that the understanding of how elements work in the game is not quite fully understood. Just some comments coming in. So this is coming from Koshara Kid. I think the issue with alterations is that players do not expect a lot out of alterations as a way to win the games, whereas alterations should be used to control combat. And so going back to Mirage Oasis, I don't disagree with that, and I think Mirage Oasis could get to that point, but that loss of 1 damage is not enough to stop someone from really doing what they're planning to do. If I got a summon like Lightless, Giant Scorpion, Angel Retribution, any of those Titan summons, this isn't gonna stop those summons from really doing anything, right? They're still gonna go and attack.
You're right.
Where this could see some value is we're starting to see those swarm decks show up in Future League. If those swarm decks become a strong enough meta, this could be a very solid sideboard, because you could drop these in strategic locations and make it that it's kind of like the Squirrel's Nest that we're testing out. Sorry if people don't know that from Future League. It's an alteration that at the end of a round it deals 2 damage to everything on or adjacent to it. But this is kind of the same thing. It's just doing 1 damage, and only when they do the attack. So it's a little bit more niche. So I think this is the early steps to a card like Squirrel's Nest. I think alterations as a whole, it's a card type that, from a game time design perspective, we have no other reference how to make alterations than name a game that has cards similar to these alterations. You'd have to be going into the realms of board games or miniature games, but you're not going into collectible card games.
It's true. Very true.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh comes close, but not close enough. So I get what you're trying to say there, but at the same time, Mirage Oasis, it's just too hard to play right now in current meta. And then Steven coming in, is Undead Servitude worth making cards in the future that make it worth playing? One of the things we haven't explored in Future League, because we're so focused on designing for Origins, is I do want to try making more cards that do Resurrect and do Desperation to see where we could test those boundaries. Because we didn't have that opportunity when we were designing Raze. We didn't have the prominent Future League team that we do now. So with the Future Leaguers that we have now, I would love to see how far we could push Desperation and how far we can push Resurrect. Because Resurrect gives you a huge discount on your summons. How much does Chasmodon cost?
Let me go grab him. He's boop.
So Chasmodon 10 aura for 4 health, 2 attack, range attack, drain. Like, that would be so expensive without the Resurrect. So Resurrect summons can get really powerful.
Sid, you could pay 10, or you could play 15 and 6 energy.
But Undead Servitude does allow you to beckon it in places that you're familiar with beckoning summons.
That is true. That's very true.
There is some, I think, if Undead Servitude was Swift, that could have been also really interesting too.
That would have been very interesting.
But I think Resurrect and Desperation need some reevaluation. And for us to come back to those in Future League. So that's something you might see coming up before the next Future League tournament. Speaking of which, Future League tournament on Saturday. If you are free, make sure you register for that tournament. It's free to enter. Everyone who enters is going to be getting the promo. Which promo is it? Is it Malfeasance? I think it's Malfeasance.
Malfeasance or the next one? I don't. You set up the promos for the tournament, so I don't know if you get doing
the promos for the tournament is always 1 month behind.
And Malfeasance, yeah.
So
that Malfeasance might be a beckon. No.
Sure, I'll throw in one typo and give it to someone at random.
You hear that, guys? You gotta get in there. That's a one of a kind right there.
But the reason why I do it the 1 month slow is because that way I know how many I have left, so I can set those aside for the tournament. So if you're free on Saturday, Tabletop Simulator tournament going on, or if you're interested in coming and co-hosting things with me and doing the what is it called, commentaries, then let me know. All right.
Wait, I would like to give a hint for anybody who's going to be playing in it. I'll tell you right now. I'm going to be playing some Scary Beasts. There's a clue. One of my decks will be running Scary Beasts. There you go. Poly Beasts. There you go. There you go. Poly Beasts. Not Scary Beasts. Not Scary Beasts. Poly Beasts. I'm going to be running Poly Beasts. Nobody ran it last week. I was surprised. So one of my decks will be running Poly Beasts. He's a beast.
He's a beast. All right. Moving on. Let's.
All right, Perry. It's sort of the same thing as Undead Servitude in a way. It's overcosted. End of story. That's it. And then it sort of has that sort of forward awareness.
Yeah.
That's really rough for defensive cards.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not much more I can say other than that.
Yeah.
Avon Exitum.
Yeah. This card has. If it didn't have Exert.
Yeah. If it didn't have Exert, it would be. I'd still not like it. But
it would
one card around. It's not good enough to actually be that relevant. Because once you're in the thick of it with an opponent, like once you're in melee, rarely does it get past 3 or 4 rounds of combat. Rarely. So if you're getting at most 4 cards off the deck after 4 turns from this one card, and this means this one card isn't dealing damage to your opponent, you're just falling behind compared to your opponent, whatever they're doing.
There's 2 parts to it. One is that the exert cost, and the second is that it only mills them at the end of the round. If it sent the card top card of their timeline to the memories, every time they were dealt damage, like not equal to the damage dealt, but just whenever they took damage, whenever you deal damage to a champion, they send the top card of their timeline to the memories. Then this card's very different because then every left hook you're doing, every little jab you make is hurting them. So this is, again, a card that could be revisited, redesigned, put into Future League, and see how much it boosts the mechanic, right? But this is, again, very similar to every card on your list at the end of the day. It comes down to the game design holding it back because we don't know the extent of this game yet. I know that there's an adage in game design which is don't be worried about boring your opponent. Don't be worried about boring your players. Be worried about not exciting them. That's true, but in a hobby game like this, I'm more worried about breaking the game too early on. A lot of TCGs die out in the first 5 years because they release a broken set. Now, in a larger game, when you've been around for 15, 20, 30 years, you can release a set with a couple of broken cards, and at the end of the day, people will just play other formats or do whatever they want to make it work. But when the card pool is so small...
Magic just like banned everything in their last ban list. Good.
But when it's a smaller card game like this, and especially when your ability to communicate your banned and restricted list is so difficult to do, it's better to be conservative. We went too far at times, that's true, but as a whole, Raze isn't that bad. And the stronger we make Future Leaguers, so everyone who's watching, everyone in Future League, I'm so grateful for that community because they are helping stabilize the future of that game, right? And not allowing us to push the boundaries without breaking the game. So Ava, I mean, I can see the next card right there, Angelic Chains. It's the same thing again. But yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I this one's interesting. I wish if the enchantment half didn't have a cost to it, I think this would be all right. It'd be okay. It'd be okay at its best. But for people who don't understand this, so you're gonna pay 15 aura. Then you're going to play a cast ability, which assumably costs aura.
Yep.
And then you're also gonna pay 5 aura. And then they're pacified for this round.
Yeah.
And during that time, they've probably already done stuff such as attacking you and the whatnot. That this pacify is probably not that relevant at that point.
And
that's where it falters. You're right. It's the same thing. Cost too much. I think otherwise it's very. I actually like the design of this card.
Yeah, I think the same thing with Ava, the same thing with Spike Pits, and Mirage Oasis. The concept of these cards are really cool.
This too.
Huh?
I said this too.
Yeah.
Concept's there. Yeah.
The defensive cards will always have that inherent flaw that defensive cards just suck. The concept on the alterations and enchantments are there. Apo is just that. How many cards? You got 3 cards left. Apo is just the issue that we still haven't figured out how severe the stack can get in this game because there are so many cards with Swift. We can't underestimate how intense the stack can get. Peaceful Demand is that's just bad design. That person who made that card should be kicked off the team.
Everybody just boo. We won't hear you. Just boo.
At least that's 2 cards on my list that make it on the worst cards in the game. All right, let's go into Dark Loa.
Dark Loa. Oh, we're running out of space. We're going down more. All right, Dark Loa, it's 2 health, and then it does nothing. That's it.
It needs an attack ability. If it just had an attack ability, then at least this card would be playable. Like if it's a 2/2 that had this cast ability that you could do once in a while, then it's something. It's at least draftable.
Hey, Tacky Psyche. I think we've talked about Tacky Psyche in the worst cards ever. I guarantee that one day there will be a place for Tacky Psyche.
Yeah.
It's just right now it's just so bad.
That's actually a very fair point. This, what was the other card we're talking about? Undead Servitude, where the game's just not set up for these cards.
Yeah.
And if the game ever shifts in such a way that all of a sudden having the right card at the top of your deck is very critical, then Tacky Psyche could be an amazing powerhouse. And the fact that it's 3 chi already makes it that when that day comes, this is going to be the perfect card to fit into that deck.
Alrighty. Inspiring Might. Target Inspiring Might loses all weakness this round, or everything adjacent to loses all weakness this round. It's only playable if you have weakness, A. And then essentially what the saying is prevent 1 damage at the end of the day. There's the off case they get hit by multiple things with the same element. But this isn't you, this is the summons around you. And if that summon's already being hit multiple times, it's probably already dying.
Yeah. This is just another case of, from the design perspective, from my perspective, is like holding the designers back too much. Because I think that this card, we're so focused on the pillars and the weaknesses and the elements that we wanted it to be such a focal point of the game, not realizing that no matter how much focus we put on it, it just wasn't pushing the game enough. So on my end, I definitely take onus on the fact that this card and so many other cards on this list, it's me as a director being like, we need to scale things back. We need to be conservative, and that's where a lot of the pain point comes from. Now, out of these cards, like, there are definitely some cards that are in the future can definitely be really solid options. Why doesn't that card want to go there? We make fun of Takisaki a lot, but realistically, there's a chance that that card could see play in the future. Some of these cards, not so much. And like even some of these defensive cards, you never know when like Earth decks become really, really intense. We're talking about in the Future League, there's Basher who gets a lot of focus. And if Basher Earth decks become really intense, then this could be a really solid sideboard card.
Yeah, that's fair.
So even though we pointed these cards out as not being solid in Genesis right now, it's also just our opinions. And we don't know what the future of Genesis looks like. It can go in any direction, and in that regard, some of these cards might start being relevant again, except for maybe Peaceful Demand.
No, everybody go now. Go pick up at least 50 Peaceful Demands. You can't run 50 in a deck, but
yeah, you need to have them for your collection.
Yeah.
It'll
never be printed again. Think of that value.
All right. And now with our 15 minutes remaining, what are some of the cards that you're on the fence about, a little bit more controversial, that you think maybe we can have a healthy debate about that?
Pull them all out, and then you can talk about it. So if you're in Bellum, you're on my list, apparently.
Apparently.
Is there any immediately that stands out for you? We already know you like Disillusion, and we've talked about it, so I'm okay to move this off the side. If you haven't heard us chat about it, we've talked about it all the time. So I can do some short, quick edits. I wish Olgi did Earth in his counterattack. That's about it. Otherwise, he's a value summon, which is weird that a value summon has counterattack, so he doesn't have the life that is required for a counterattack like the gorilla does. But the awareness that Olgi has is way more relevant for the counter. That's it.
Olgi in draft kills it. Oh my goodness. Like, he is such a good bomb in drafts. So constructed, yeah, I could see how you'd be iffy about it, but in drafts, such a good summon.
Kadajin. Me and you've argued about this before in the beginning. I don't like it. It's definitely better than a Dark Loa, specifically because of its awareness, so you can place it beside your champion to kind of protect it. But it can't win you the game, and that's where it ends up coming down to. I think this card just can't win you the game.
Yeah. So I've played enough games where I've had these guys down, and I've enjoyed the fact that I can push my opponent back, put a lot of pressure on them, slow them down, and there's not a lot they can do to me. That's the part I really enjoy about them.
Yeah, they delay, but they
Yeah,
don't finish. That's essentially what they do. And that's
yeah.
why they're my iffy list. Yeah, that's it. Since we're
It,
running out of time, we're gonna
yeah.
try to make it as quick as possible.
Okay, okay.
Zamber Dragon, he's just so expensive.
I love the Zamber.
Comes back to I like him too, but it comes back to sort of the what's our Kraken friend?
Primordial.
Primordial. It's sort of the primordial force thing. But Zamber has some very unique things about him, which is fun. But otherwise, it's just
there are particular formats, like Ulgi, particular formats where Zamber, I would pick him in a heartbeat. Like draft.
Yeah, you win the game if you have him in draft.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these cards are very much in that case. This is the one card that I actually would have downgraded into the it just has so much. It's a good starting point for how defensive cards should be like.
Mm-hmm.
In it itself is not particularly strong.
So I built a deck around Divine Renewal and couldn't get it to proc once, even though it was filled with
peripheral visions,
and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
now
it was a sad
take the
day.
exact same card, change its defense from aura to energy, and give its awareness left, right, forward.
I think it would be crazy.
Yeah, right? It would be so good at that point. And this is the thing. Defensive cards got held back way too much in this game. If this card got its full power, took the reins off, and got to be at the same level as some of these offensive amazing cards, this card would have been so good. So I'm going to give a huge kudos to Lionel for designing this card. I really love it. I just don't think in its current form it's good. But
I agree.
It gives the future to really I would love to actually do that, what I was exactly saying, and do that in Future League, because that card would be so good.
Divine Covering, I'm just not a fan. I don't understand why go up to 8G if you can play Holy Wall at 7G.
Yeah.
That's my personal preference. But I know some people who do love it. I've seen Will use it.
I use it.
That's just my preference. Yeah.
It's I've won so many games because of it. It's just I love it.
All right, Yamaraja is just too hard to build around. He's very much a build around summon, and then he's usually pretty defenseless once for that first turn he's down. Even with the Death Touch, I find that the Death Touch a lot of time it's really hard to utilize with the Resurrect backing because you don't really get to choose where you're Resurrect backing with.
Yeah.
Would be interesting with Master Summoner, though, because Master Summoner doesn't need to follow the Resurrect Beckon rules.
Now, I was just going to say that. Is this a card that, with the Future League cards, this can see a lot more value?
It's possible. It's possible. That's all I got. It's definitely possible. But then again, I also think Death Touch 3 is becoming less and less relevant. Except, if you Death Touch something that's 3 or less, it usually doesn't have that many unique abilities. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Barik Naga, I think it's just issue of its time. If it was coming on Origins, I think this would be, better. But that's all it is.
Okay, so 16 aura, 4/4, and it has.
Stats are fine.
Yeah.
Its ability, I was saying, is off a bit.
Okay. How much are you paying for 4/4? How much is Blackstone Golem? 14 aura, I think.
14, I think. Yeah.
So you're not paying too much more for Barik-Naga. I think. I completely agree. Give this card another set or two, and it's gonna be very solid.
My main thing is I wish the paralyze effect could hit summon. That's pretty much all I would have liked to see on this card.
That's fair.
And then Archon of Vigor. A lot of people like it. I just don't. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it's overcosted for it.
So it's funny because I think some of my where was Divine Covering, Archon of Vigor, and Zamber Dragon are some of my most played cards from Raze. So again, this goes back to talking about those cards that you had on your dislike pile. It's subjective, because going to this pile where you and I, we think a lot alike when it comes to the spectrum. I like the ends of the spectrum, but when it comes to the middle, we debate a lot about these cards. And so even some of these cards that are on one end of the spectrum for you and I, for someone else, it could be in the middle, or it could be on the other end of the spectrum. It's really subjective because like for me, I think Zamber Dragon in a Malik deck is just amazing. Like there's just so much powerhouse behind that. All right, let's get into your uncommons here. Commons and uncommons.
Commons and uncommons, and the weird spot is Library Gates. Should we just talk about them as I flip them? Library Gates. So issue with this card, if you don't know, is that it gives the power in your opponent's hand. If they end up leaving the Library Gate, they're just going to discard their little 3 cheese and 4 cheese that they don't really need. Or if they don't ever need to, like if you're playing Idris or something, they'll just sit on it.
Yeah.
Shadow Masters. It's okay. It's a little expensive. I don't know. It's fine.
Still better than Meditative Ascension.
Fury. It's another okay card. They're just not my commonly played cards, I think. So that's why I don't know what I would do with it.
I think it's a solid draft card.
Yes,
especially
easily.
for Malik.
Deathly Return. I just wish it didn't have the restrictions that it does. That's all.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is an issue of figuring out how bounce back works in Genesis. It's not the same as other games because of the way the resource system is. So there has to be some reevaluation on how some of these cards work. But yeah.
Dark Corruption. It seems a little expensive for its cost. Now that I'm looking at it here in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Because for 2 damage, forward awareness, like Flame Jet, you're paying 7 aura. Here you're paying... Easy. And you're paying 4 aura more. You're getting that... but you're getting the Skeleton Warrior. The Skeleton Warrior more often not just kind of dies. I just wish this was Swift Speed. If this is Swift Speed, then it would be a lot better, because then you can pummel creatures, or like someone comes and attacks you, you kill them and you turn them into a skeleton, and now you have a meat shield and stuff like that. So it's just, again, this issue of holding cards back.
Brawler's Momentum. I've seen a lot of people try to make it work. I've yet to see it work, and that's pretty much where it is for me.
Yeah. I love the card.
And it's usually the issue is that fighters usually, once you start playing your cards, you lose your momentum. You play Brawler's Momentum, you're 1 card down. You play 1 attack ability from yourself, 1 card, you're 2 cards down. You're quickly going to run out of cards, and this is going to quickly not do anything anymore. I think that's where I am for that. Martial Training, just a very basic boy. That's not relevant anymore. I would say. Fleet-Footed. It's okay in the Pacify deck. That's the only place it sits.
Yeah.
So if the other Pacify cards aren't good, then this card becomes even worse in theory.
Yeah. But if there are more Pacify cards, this card will be really good at that.
Go up. Oh yeah. If Pacify becomes a much bigger thing, then that becomes a way better card.
Yeah.
Downpour. Very expensive. That's it.
Yeah.
Dark Passage. How did Dark Passage make it into my unsure pile, but the other one didn't? Oh, this should not. I feel like Dark Passage should be in the bad pile. Now that I'm thinking at it. This is another Resurrect Beckons Matters card, which costs so much. So you're going to play Dark Passage, which is 1 card from your hand. You are then going to play a summon that is going to die from your hand. And then you're going to play the summon that was going to be Resurrected Beckons finally from your hand. So you're now 3 cards out of your hand to get that 1 card down. Where's the let me just put this over here. That's moving over to my bad pile. Yeah, if it doesn't want to go.
Nope.
There you go.
It's fighting it.
Now, I think a lot of people think that if you could get Enter the Battlefield triggers with this, they would have a small play around it. But unfortunately, Genesis doesn't work like that. If the summon's dead, trigger not going to exist. That's it. Arcane Blast. I know you love Arcane Blast. I don't. 5G is just a little bit much for me to be paying to doing 2 damage for 10 aura. Even if it's doing the element of my choice. In the current meta, I don't see it.
There were aspects of this game that we did not see. They devolved more than I was expecting them to. So elements is definitely a big thing where we're still trying to figure out how to make them work. And that's the big issue.
That's fair. Abidance. It's just going on with the pacify sort of sub-theme. If pacify is bad, then it doesn't. It just falls in line.
Do you enjoy how well these two art pieces work with each other, though?
Yeah.
Like, Ra pacifies Idris, and is just running around. And Idris is there like, I don't see anything. All right. Anyways.
Zfang, it's just a weird one. Most people don't see the use in it. It's just a very unique and weird card, but there are a lot of weird uses with it.
Yeah.
Stable Footing, same thing. The 3-chi Thymos. I have never had it work, and I find it really hard to slot it in the deck. Mm-hmm. That's just whatever it is for other people. That's it for me. Fire's Master Dance doesn't do enough for me. I talked about this. Like, Idris is on it. It's going to cost Idris 13 aura to do 1 fire damage, but that's costing me 3 fireballs to do that 1 fire damage. Or transmutation. I know it's you made this card, and I've had that weird feeling. It's like it's a card that just it feels like it should work, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the end of the story.
This is a card that is the issue of we didn't have strong enough Future League team. So yeah.
A Hallowed Sentry. It's the better Dark Loa.
Dark Loa, yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Head Slip, it's just really hard to fit a 7-sheet defensive card in your deck when it's not as like it's not like this ain't Revenge of the Phoenix.
No, it's not.
It's close to it. It's trying to be
less. One less than Revenge, and it's just
Jalarian Mist. I actually like Jalarian Mist.
I love it.
It's just really hard to slot in the deck, I think. I like it though, yeah. And then Tornado Winds just sort of follows many other cards. Every now and then I pull out a deck that just runs all these kinds of effects for fun.
Yeah. There's no card here that I would push to my love list except for Zifang.
That's fair.
It's just if we were just rank them from 1 to 5, and this is your tier 3 cards, then this would be my tier 4 card. Like, it wouldn't be like top end. I love it every time I crack it in a pack type of thing, but it's one of those ones that I get it to work more often than I think I will. And every time it goes off, my opponent's like, really? You're playing that? I'm like, yeah, I am. And I just enjoy that moment so much of like playing a card that people don't expect it to be that good. And then the other ones, there's nothing else on this list that really stands out to me. I loved Library Gates in Draft. That was fun. But for the most part, these cards, they're this early. We'll see like the similar cards be redesigned in future sets to be much more powerful versions of themselves, like much more playable. Jalarian Mist, though, in the few times I've played it, I found it very effective, especially since it actually does one thing really weird that Genesis does that other games don't, and that's abilities that get carried with you. So Jalarian Mist it doesn't target those spots. It just says the spots adjacent to you are occupied. So if you start moving, new spots become occupied, and spots that were occupied stop being occupied. So you can do a really weird thing with Kun, where if your opponent it hasn't gone yet, and you somehow are able to play Generating Mist before your move phase, well, then you just like jump onto them, and now all the spots adjacent to them are occupied, and they can't move anywhere, and they're trapped there with you. And like that's just fun.
So on the other side, I played against Generating Mist, and then my opponent was just trapped in there as I played long range stuff on them, and they went, "Oh, I have all this evasion, I can't move into the slot."
Yeah. So it's definitely a card you need to play with, get used to, and master. I don't think it's inherently bad in any way. It's just trying to figure out how to play with it well is harder than players expect it to be, especially for a common. Yeah. I wish that Dark Corruption was more stable of a card.
Beautiful art.
Yeah, that's a big reason why. That was Camilla's like trial piece in trying to get into the art team. She made this piece, and it was just so gorgeous. On the rare occasion where I did play Fleet-Footed and the Bidens, actually I played a Bidens against my own summon, got them pacified, and then played Fleet-Footed. Yeah, because that works perfectly. That you can do. Downpour is just an issue with the formula was wrong. If this was on scale with the formula, like the new formula, then this card would be so good. And not like broken good, but like if it didn't cost 33 aura and cost 17, then it would be a much more reasonable card. Yeah. This was just a lot of learning lessons, and at the end of the day, that's very important. Is that these cards aren't bad. They're not like if you're playing in a draft, you're playing casually, and you just get these cards. They're not terrible cards to own, and they can still make your deck a little bit better. It's just from the game design perspective, we need to learn from these lessons and make sure that the next set has fewer of these type of cards. Now, there won't be a set that only has good cards. So I just don't think that's ever possible. But we can have a fewer of these like cards that are not playable, and maybe we put in cards that aren't playable right now but build up towards becoming playable. Like what was that one? Dark Servitude was the one, right?
Yeah, Dark Servitude.
Where in the future it can definitely become a playable card, but for now we take our lumps and we do the best we can. And part of the key is that. Actually, this is one thing I really want to point out is that even from our perspective, you're someone who plays a lot. I'm someone who obsesses about the details of the cards a lot. There's a lot of things that slip by both of us, and someone makes a deck, and we're like, all of a sudden we look at it and we're like, "Yep, that was a mistake." And that's good to have in a game, because if the game design team was able to predict every deck that was playable, the game would be so boring. Just so boring. The scariest, but probably one of the best moments of my career making Genesis was when the OTK deck was revealed to me. And someone was like, I made this Rain OTK deck, and it can kill someone on turn 1. And I was like, oh no, that's so bad because people are going to hate this. But at the same time, congratulations for making something I didn't even think was possible in the game. And they did it with rain too, which makes me even happier. So, yeah, that's kind of my stance on a lot of these cards, is that we may not think they're good, but that doesn't mean that we're right.
That's true.
Yeah. All right, cool. We're at 8:10 right now. For everyone who's watching, I'd love to know what were your cards from Raze that you wish were stronger, that maybe they should be on this list but aren't, or you kind of wish we had talked a little bit more about. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you in the future. And I think that's everything for this week. Any last thoughts on your end, Alex?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Nice.
Everybody join us Saturday for the tournament.
Yes. Please join us this Saturday. Participate. That's the goal. If you can't, then feel free to come and join and commentate the game with me. If you can't do that, then just come and watch on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. And we will talk to you next week. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.